What's going on? Today we are going to do a read. I just got this book like a couple of days ago, and I wanted to read this book or whatever. And I've made it to chapter 2, but I decided that I want to start posting on here more. So I might as well read out loud to you guys, people that is interested in the mastery of self and learning about self. If you're on your spiritual journey, you came to the right place, because so far, peace. So far, this book is a really good book so far. So I'm gonna read it, whatever, and hopefully y'all get into it. But before I start reading it, I'm gonna Palo Santo the space, so we can have no any bad negative energy. Alright, I will. I got you. But yeah, miss you too. How you been? But yeah, like I like before I read or do anything, I want to you know be able to sage the space and stuff, so no negativity is around. I love this. This is my favorite. I like this. I like using Palo Santo more than I like using sage because it smells so good, and it helps with like anxiety and stuff, depression. So it's a sweet smell. Demonic entities don't like sweet smells or anything that smells good. So, okay. All right. So we should be ready to get reading. Let me drink my water. So, if you're interested in this book and reading it for yourself, you can look it up on Amazon or whatever. And I recommend reading it, especially if you wanna are trying to be on a whole different journey. But let me get into it. The second chapter, understanding our domestication and attachments. And if y'all want me to read the first like couple of pages, just comment below. You come across this video, and I'll do it. There is an old Toltec story that has been shared across generations in my family about a shaman who called himself the Smoky Mirror. He gave himself this name once he became aware of the smoke that not only clouded his vision and controlled his will, but also did the same to everyone around him. A recounting of the Smoky Mirror story will be helpful as we begin to go deeper into the mastery of self. After many years of study and in a moment of great realization, a shaman experiences the truth. I am made of light. I am made of stars. The real us is pure love, pure light, he says. As he looks around his village, he knows that everyone and everything he sees is a manifestation of God. And he intuitively understands that the human journey is a process of divine becoming aware of itself. Moved by realization, the shaman immediately wants to share this information with everyone in his village. But when he does so, it becomes clear to him that no one else understands. The shaman then realized that there is a smoky fog between him and others, and this fog doesn't allow people to see beyond the tip of their own nose. The fog controls their every action, every belief. The shaman also noticed that he interacts with others, the fog tries to assert its control over him again. But as soon as he noticed the fog creeping back in, the simple act of noticing makes the fog dissipate. As the fog resides, he becomes aware of a mirror in front of him, and he can vaguely see his reflection. When the fog completely clears, he can see himself fully again. The shaman is aware that he is the truth, and the reflection of the mirror is a reminder. It only reflects the truth. He begins to understand the reflection as an instrument of awareness. Every time the fog begins to creep in and keep him from knowing who he really is, he can look to his mirror if it is cloudy and he can't see himself. He knows he is on the wrong track, trapped in the fog. But as soon as he remembers his authentic self, the smoke immediately begins to clear to remind himself of who he really is and the power of the fog to obscure his perception. The shaman changes his name to Smoky Mirror. This powerful story explicates a core teaching in my family's Toltec tradition. The fog represents our attachments, our domestications, which together keeps us from experiencing the truth of who we are. That's deep. So, like, just reading that, and let's do like a little reflection to that. A lot of people are clouded, and I've seen that even in myself. You can be on a path that's not even your path because you have other influences on you that is clouding your thoughts, that's clouding your mind. So this is deep. This is really deep. But I'm going to go on to the next thing and we can jump back. Domestication. Let me begin to explain domestication with a simple story. Imagine a child of 8 or 9 having lunch with his grandmother, who has prepared soup for their afternoon meal. They sit together and converse, enjoying each other's company and the love they share. After finishing half his bowl of soup, the child realized he is full. I don't want the rest, grandmother. I am full. You must eat all your soup, grandson, she replies. Whether you are a parent or not, it is likely clear what that this boy's grandmother is trying to do. Her intentions are admirable. She wants him to eat in order to be nourished. When he declines, she tries to convince him to eat more by offering him a reward for doing what she wants. This is the first tool of domestication. Do you see that? You must finish your soup, she says. It will make you grow up big and strong like Superman. But the young boy is uttered. No, I am not hungry, he insists. I don't want to eat anymore right now. In addition to not being hungry, the child is also enjoying the feeling of asserting himself because it feels powerful to say no, to express his free will. He can also feel the same sense of power when he says yes to things he wants, and it feels good to say it. This is how young children, including ourselves when we are young, learn about the power of intent by stating yes and no. Eventually, the boy reaches the threshold of his grandmother's patience, and when the carrot doesn't work, she reaches for the stick to impose her will upon him. Like many grandparents and their parents before them, she crossed the line of respect for his choice, and as punishment, in this case, guilt and shaming, which is the second tool of domestication. And if you really look at how slavery, and just not even slavery because slavery is a choice, but how people are forcefully getting like certain medications and forcefully like doing certain things, like your parents installed a lot of your negative beliefs inside of you, and it's like they didn't let you express yourself. I know I was raised by my grandmother, and you know, it was either her way or no way. And I was a very rebellious child. I would say I got in trouble a lot when I was younger because like I just didn't like want to do not the right thing but what she wanted. Like if whatever I wanted to do, I would do it, basically. And so that was a way of me expressing my free will, but I was punished for it. And so I'm still to this day trying to be my most authentic self and get away from all the negative beliefs that was domesticated on me as a child. And I know it's a lot of people that actually is probably going through that right now. If you are a child, you come across me, like, I know it's a lot of people that's going through that. But let's go on. Do you know how many children don't have anything to eat around the world? My grandma used to say that too. They are starving, and you are wasting your food. It's a sin to waste food. Now the young boy is concerned. He doesn't want to look like a selfish child, and he really doesn't want to be seen as a sinner in his grandmother's eyes. With a sense of defeat, he relents and subjugates his will. See, so she guilt tripped him. But I know me, I would have got beat with a stick. Okay, Grandma, I will finish my soup. He begins to eat again, and he doesn't stop until the bowl is empty. Then, with the tenderness that makes her grandson feel safe and loved, Grandma says, "That's my good boy." So, comfort zone. Bring him back to the comfort zone. The boy learns that by complying with the rules of the dream, he can earn a reward. In this case, he is a good boy in the eyes of his grandma and receives her love and encouragement. The punishment would have been to be seen as a selfish child, a sinner in her eyes, a bad boy. This is a simple example of domestication in action. No one doubts that the grandmother has the best of intentions. She loves her grandson and wants him to eat his lunch, but the method she is using to achieve the goal was negative, unintended consequences. Anytime guilt and shame are deployed as a tool of provoked action, this counters any good that has been achieved. Eventually, those negative elements will resurface in one way or another. In this case, let's imagine that when the boy grows up, the domestication that occurred around this issue is so strong that it still has an imposing power over him. Well, into his adulthood. For instance, many years later, he goes into a restaurant where they are served a big plate of food. And half through his meal, his body signals to him that the truth of the moment, I am full. Consciously or subconsciously, he hears a voice, it's a sin to waste food. You hear that? Consciously or subconsciously, he answers, yes, Grandma, and continues to eat. Finishing his plate like a good boy, he responds to his domestication rather than his needs of the moment. In that instant, he completely goes against himself by continuing to eat after his body has already let him know that he is full. The idea is so strong that it overrules his body's natural preference to stop. Overeating may damage his body, which is one of the negative consequences. In this case, of his guilt and shame as a tool, the other consequence is that he has experienced internal suffering. By relieving a past moment of guilt and shame, it is controlling his actions in the present moment. Finally, note that his grandmother is not even present in the current situation, as he is now taking up the reasons of domestication and subjugated his own will without anyone else's influence. In the Toltec tradition, we refer to this phenomenon as self-domestication. As my father liked to say, humans are the only animals on planet that self-domesticate. The relationship between the boy and his grandmother forms a part of the dream of the planet, and the lunch between the grandmother and his grandson is a basic example of how domestication and self-domestication within the dream occurs. The grandmother domesticated her grandson in a moment, but he continued to self-domesticate himself longer after that. Self-domestication is the act of accepting ourselves on the condition that we live up the ideas we have adopted from others in the dream of the planet, without ever considering if those ideas is what we truly want. While the consequences of finishing a bowl of soup was minimal, domestication and self-domestication can take more serious and darker forms as well. For instance, many of us learned to be critical of our physical appearance because it wasn't good enough for society standards. We were presented with the belief that we weren't tall enough, thin enough, or our skin wasn't the right color. And the moment we agreed with their belief, we began to self-domesticate. Because we adopted our external belief, we either rejected or tried to change our physical appearance so we could feel worthy of our own self-acceptance and accept of others. Imagine for a moment the many industries that would cease to exist if we all loved our body exactly the way they are. To be clear, domestication regarding body image is different from wanting to lose weight in order to be healthy, or even having a preference to look a certain way. The key difference is that with a preference, you come from a place of self-love and self-acceptance, whereas with domestication, you start from a place of shame and guilt and not being enough. The line between the two can be thin sometimes, and a master of self is one who can look within and determine his or her true motive. Another popular form of domestication is current dream of the planet revolves around social class and materialist material possession. There is an underlying belief by society that those who have the most stuff or who hold certain jobs are somehow more important than the rest. And I, for one, have never met anyone who was more important than anyone else, as we are all beautiful and unique creatures of the divine. And yet many people pursue career paths they dislike and buy things they don't really want or need, all in effort to achieve the exclusive goals of pure acceptance and self-acceptance. Instant such as these, and we can think of many others, are the ways in which domestication leads to self-domestication and results that we have people living lives that's not even their own. That's crazy. Let me share an example of a close friend who was domesticated in a way and how he broke free from a very young age. My friend was encouraged by his family to become a lawyer. They filled his young mind with stories of money, power, and told him he had the skills necessary to be as successful in ever. With the encouragement of his family, my friend studied pre-law of college and then went straight into law school. But shortly after he arrived, he found that he couldn't stand the practice of law. In hindsight, he realized he had been domesticated to the idea that being an attorney was going to make him rich, powerful, and most importantly special in the eyes of his family. But the truth was that in adopting this path, he was following their dream instead of his own. When he announced to his family that he was dropping out of law school, many of them were disappointed and tried to desperately to change his mind. But he was able to stay firm by relying on his own intent. This was many years, and he now chuckles when he remembers his former plans, as he is very happy in his current profession as an author and spiritual teacher. This example illustrates how ideas that are planted in us as children and beyond often don't reflect our preferred path. But just like a friend, you have the power inside you to break free from any domestication that you've experienced. And the first step is doing so is becoming aware of the domestication and finding out what is true for you. Lastly, I want to be clear that although I have been focused on negative aspects of domestication, not all domestication results of negative consequences. In other words, just because an idea was planted in your via domestication doesn't mean the idea is bad and you must reject it. If it's consistent with true preference in life, that's wonderful. For instance, if my friend had ended up enjoying the practice of law, then there would have no reason to make a career change. Once you decide for yourself with a clear mind that a particular idea or belief works for you, there's nothing wrong with maintaining it. The point is that you make a conscious choice. So I'm gonna start right there. because we in 20 minutes. This is still chapter 2. I'm not done with chapter 2. So we got a couple more pages. But I just wanted to, like, just reflect on what I just read. Like I said, this is my first time reading this book. And I'm learning as y'all watch me read to y'all. And it's like, it's crazy how, this is so true. Like, my grandmother or just my people in general say a child is supposed to be seen, not heard. And that is some deep rooted, like, that's a deep negative belief, because as a child growing up, you feel like you don't have a voice. And it's like, you have to have a voice, especially if you have someone messing with you or anything. Like, you're supposed to speak up and let people know. But we have been domesticated, especially by people that look like me, to keep things a secret or to not speak your truth, not feel like you have a will, and everyone has a will. Do as you please and as you feel comfortable. And that's what I'm always say. Like, even when I was younger, I was so rebellious, but I see why. Like, reading this book, I see why I was so rebellious, because I just didn't want to live without me being my true self. But he went back to the image. I used to hate how I look. I used to hate my skin color. I used to hate my hair. I used to wear wigs all the time. I used to, just, want my skin to be lighter. Like, but that negative belief was put on me from my cousins, my people, and just social media, or just society in general. You seeing, like, people would rather choose a lighter person over a dark person. And as a child looking at that makes you not love yourself from a place that is supposed to be loved. Like, you are ashamed to even come out. Like, I was at a point when I was younger that even if my hair was done, I would always wear a hoodie everywhere I went. Like, literally. Like, I just didn't want to just be out. I didn't want to be seen. I was just embarrassed of what I looked like. And so, it's been a long time. Like, it took a long time for me to, like, really truly start loving myself. Because at the end of the day, I didn't have, like, nobody to tell me that. I had to put that in me. And so it's like, it's crazy how, you get these beliefs from the people that is around you, your close friends, or when you go to school, people are telling you what they believe, and then you adopt it, or they use shame and guilt to guilt you to do something. And now that's like traveling to your adult life, and you got issues. But it all starts from childhood. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed this first chapter. This is chapter 2 anyway. But if y'all want me to read the first couple of pages, comment below. But I'm gonna read some more tomorrow. I'll be on here tomorrow. I'm trying to post 3 times a week for you all. Like, I'm gonna try to get back on here. Not try, I am gonna get back on here. But I hope y'all enjoy. Just run and listen to this video and listen to the book, because this probably is gonna help somebody that is going through something. But love, peace, and happiness, and I will see y'all in the next video.